happy Monday. You just missed some beautiful weather here in Connecticut. It was 65 degrees last week. There's a high of 35 degrees today, but still felt like spring. There was some outdoor knitting, so very enjoyable. Project updates. Let's talk about the embroidery first. So last time, I still had all of the interfacing on my very fancy embroidered bathrobe. I soaked it off. Let me show you. Okay, so I've soaked it and then added some more and then soaked it and then added some more. But it's like magic. It really is. Seeing it without the interfacing and like all fresh and clean. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So that is after the first soak. You saw this mandala, and I was working on this one the last time we spoke. So I have soaked it, and then I did a bunch of kind of fill-in interconnection with some, I think I'm gonna call it a kind of like honeycomb. It's just hexagons, but I don't know, I enjoy the honeycomb appearance. A little bit to tie into the front with my bird. And then it comes up onto the collar just a little bit, kind of catches it in a few spots. So now, I just started working on this one, is a mandala on the other shoulder. And I will connect that in with more honeycomb once it's done. And then I get to start on the bottom, which is super exciting because when I first made this jacket, or my fancy bathrobe as I call it, I was not intending to embroider on it. So I made it very well, which is great. Washes well, can wear it for many years, but it makes it difficult to take apart. So in an ideal world, I would have disconnected the lining from the outside so you wouldn't be able to see any of this, because it would just be in between the lining and the fashion fabric on the outside. But because I made this very well, and for the most part I flatlined it, which is a historic technique, it's difficult to take apart. So the top, the shoulders, I didn't bother, I'm not gonna do it. But for the rest of it, for the main body and kind of skirt of the jacket, it's just hemmed really simply by hand. I can unpick that lovely hand-done hem and separate out the fashion side of the fabric, the outer fabric, from the lining. So when I do all my embroidery, it'll only be through the outside layer. So once it's all done and finished, I can re-hem it and it'll be beautiful. You won't be able to see any of the backs of my embroidery. So that'll be nice. But for the shoulders, the perfectionist in me would really like to have done it so you wouldn't see it. The realist in me said nobody will be able to see it anyway when I'm wearing it because my body will be there. But because it's a swishy, the rest of the jacket is very swishy and big, you could probably see that while I'm wearing it as I move. So I'm happy to unhem and do it properly. But that is fancy bathrobe progress. I absolutely love it. It's so pretty. And this will shock absolutely no one, but this fill-in, I did it in like a Saturday watching documentaries. It goes a lot quicker than the fancy bits. Shocking, I know. So that's what's up with the embroidery. Quick sweater update. Since we last chatted, I have made some good progress. So let's see. I have split off for sleeves and knit about 5.5 inches of body. So I actually don't know how long I'm making this because the pattern is for a cropped sweater, which is great and looks really nice on a lot of people, but it's not my preference. So I'm gonna make it full length. But clever thought was inspired actually by something I saw on Instagram that I think was from TikTok. But I do a fairly good bit of ribbing at the bottom. I think I'm gonna do about 4 inches. If I wanna wear this sweater over a dress instead of like tucked into a skirt or jeans, if I wanna wear it over a dress, so better cropped, I can use the 4-5 inches of ribbing and tuck that up under, and it will cling to like my rib region. So the sweater will look like it's cropped and go nicely over a dress. So that's what I'm gonna do, but I still want it to have the option of having it full length if I wanna do it, over jeans or anything like that. Most often I think I'm going to wear it tucked into a skirt. But options. That was a rambling way to say I don't know how many inches I need to go, but I'm currently at 5.5 and it is whipping along. Usually I don't like the boring knitting because this is just stockinette in a circle, a never-ending circle. But right now it is hitting the spot craft-wise. And it's perfect because I started a new documentary about food and like the history and the origins of foods. So a lot of it is in English and has fantastic subtitles. And I'm really glad that they're not dubbing it because I prefer subtitles. But this is good knitting when you need to be reading subtitles, so it works out well. The red dress. So I'm gonna talk about the pleats for the most part, but I had a realization last time we were chatting about what color to make the collar, and I was really torn between making it red to match the rest of the dress or making it white, because I like a white collar. I think it looks nice. But I had a thought. I can have both. I can have the best of both worlds. So I really like this dress. I think I'm gonna wear it a lot. It fits nicely. It's a great color. The weight of the material is very pleasant. I'm delighted with it so far. But it has long sleeves. Like, it is full coverage. It goes all the way up to the neck. Long sleeves. It is not a summer dress. And my office isn't terribly cold in the summer, so it's not like I would want long sleeves. But it's gonna work. So, side note, I was trying to figure out how this pattern worked because there are a lot of instructions and they're very detailed, which is great, but I'm fairly experienced at this point and don't really need the, sew a straight line from point A to point B. I'm good. I understand how it's constructed. But I was skimming through and I'm like, how is it that the bodice is a front closure and the skirt has a side closure? If it's a dress, they're attached. That doesn't work. How exactly? So I was noodling on it for a couple of days before I bothered to go back and just read the instructions. So I read them in detail and they're made up completely separate. And then you can kind of change around the closure to suit your preference. But I had already gotten it into my head, well, what if they were completely separate pieces? So instead of connecting them and messing around with the closures, I'm making it so the skirt and the bodice are completely separate, which is also then nice because I could just wear the skirt with a different blouse or, however I want to do it, the sweater. It would look great with my Icelandic lopapeysa, the reds match. Oh, that'd be cute in winter. But then I can have a winter bodice and a summer bodice. So for my winter bodice, it's going to be the original pattern, so long sleeved with a collar, and it's gonna have red collar. And I think black buttons, because I have some really nice black buttons that go well with it. And I wear a lot of blacks and grays in the winter, so that'd be fine. But the summer bodice is going to have, I'm going to raise the arm side, because right now it's kind of a historic cut, so it's a bit further down on the arm, because the whole period was very much, minimize the shoulder, get more of a swoop, very curved shape. But for the summer bodice, I'm going to raise the arm side up to a more modern placement at the top of the shoulder and give it some nice little flowery short sleeves, and that's gonna get the white collar. I'm very excited. Luckily, I always overbuy my fabric, so I've got plenty. Yee. I'm delighted. But anyway, I've been working on the skirt yesterday for the most part. Yesterday was Sunday. And I got to play around with cartridge pleating, which I've never done before. I read a bunch about it. I've seen it everywhere. I know what it looks like. Never actually done it. Mostly because the only other, technically this is an 1860s pattern, so the only other Civil War dress I've made that wasn't a ball gown, and they are constructed differently, but the only other like day dress I've made for this period, I made when I was just a wee one. I'll add a picture in here because it's adorable. It's not very period, but it's adorable. Cute, right? I loved that bonnet too. I cut up a hat from Goodwill to make that bonnet. I was delighted with it. But anyway, that dress was a big 4 chain pattern, so it just had a gathered waistband. But this is a period patterns, correct? So, cartridge pleats. It's so cool. I'm actually gonna kick you over to yesterday's Leah, time traveling Leah, and she'll show you a bit more in detail. Okay, so I've been working on the skirt today for my dress, and the waistband is done in cartridge pleats, which I've actually never done before. So that was a fun YouTube learning experience this morning. But it's pretty simple. You just run 2 lines of basting stitches, about 1/4 inch apart from each other. And that A gives you reinforcement, but B helps to give you nice orderly, they're kind of gather looking, but pleat-ish. Helps keep the 2 lines, helps keep it nice and tidy because the gathering stitches actually stay in the finished piece, which isn't particularly common. But in cartridge pleats, they stay in. So once you run your 2 lines of stitches, you just pull them down to gather, and you get this really nice orderly zigzag pattern. So when you go to attach it to the waistband, it's done a little bit differently. You cannot sew this on a sewing machine. A, because you would murder your sewing machine going through this, but B, because you actually want to keep this depth. So I've started to attach it over here, and it is very slow going because you actually catch through each U, and then you go a couple of times through, about every 5 to 10 stitches, just to make sure it's nice and secure. So this way, waistband is folded down, stitching it on. Here's the inside of the skirt. But that way, when you fold the waistband up, you get this really beautiful, tidy, pleated waistband. And because it's sitting right here at the edge, it's keeping most of the thickness, most of the weight away from your actual waist, so it helps to poof out at the hips, keep the waist thin. So let me show you a couple of stitches. Gotta have your handy dandy thimble. And now, so I just went through this stitch, so I'm gonna pop over to the next U in line and just go through the very bottom. So just like that, you're catching through the bottom of the U and then through the waistband. And because you do this with every single U, it's very sturdy, but it's also kind of time intensive. I've spent all day on this skirt, and I'm just about done with 1/4 of the actual attachment to the waistband. But it is beautiful. I really like the way it's turning out. I don't know how, I've never done cartridge pleats before, but it's absolutely lovely. Welcome back! Yesterday's Leah was also very optimistic that she would get the rest of the waistband done and then could like hem it and try it on and all that stuff. Did not happen. Yesterday's Leah also forgot that there was a time change. So when she woke up at 5, she actually woke up at 4, which means even though it was daylight till like 7:30 at night, I was ready for bed at about 7:30 at night. So yeah, did not get finished, but I love it. Look at how tiny that is. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm thrilled with this. Absolutely thrilled with it. Even more so because it has a nice big pocket. And because it's going to be a separate piece from the bodices, it's going to give me a lot more space for mix and match. And I like it. I also think I might apply the concept more just because it does give a lot more flexibility in your wardrobe, and I do like to maximize the number of uses of any one garment. So I'm very excited. I also have plans for like some hooks and bars to help connect the skirt to the bodice so you can't see them, but they are connected just so things don't, separate while I'm wearing it. Anyway, I'm psyched. I think it's turning out really nicely. Okay. Talk to you later, Mom. Bye.